It took me 20 years to figure out these 8 steps for chicken thighs with juicy meat and perfect bite through skin. And today I'm going to give you the exact playbook so you can nail it on your very next cook. And if you're new to barbecue, grab my free Ultimate Barbecue Grilling Cheat Sheet in the bio. It's loaded with game-changing tips like these. Let's make it happen. Step number 1, pat that chicken dry. This is the most important time to do it because skin that's holding moisture is your enemy. So that surface water has to evaporate before the fat underneath can render. And that's what gives you bite through skin. Drying it now so that the heat works on the fat is always the best policy because you don't want that heat trying to evaporate the water. Patting that chicken dry leaves it in a perfect position for your seasoning that you'll apply next. Step number 2 in this process, get yourself a jacquard. All right, let's put this jacquard to work. Notice what I'm doing here. This jacquard breaks up that fat layer that's right underneath the skin without tearing it. And so what happens is the fat renders faster, the skin lays flat, and then your teeth are going to slide right through that skin when it's cooked and you're ready to eat it. Now, just as a side point here, you don't have to scrape the skin like the competitors do. So I'm just going to take off some of this skin. The jacquard is going to help tenderize the skin, but now I'm just removing some of that excess fatty skin that I don't need. And now it's just about shaping the chicken thighs. Now, an important third step is to dry brine overnight. So this means seasoning on top of the skin and underneath the skin. And for this, I'm using a 2-1-1 salt, pepper, garlic blend. So basically, that's 2 parts kosher salt, 1 part coarse pepper, and 1 part garlic, meaning granulated garlic. We want to make sure we get on top of the skin and underneath it. And then overnight, it's going to sit in that meat. It's going to pull moisture from the skin, and it's going to make it even easier to get that clean bite through that we all want. And as you see right here, it's really easy to miss that meat underneath the skin. You have to be careful. You have to pull the skin back, and you can see none of the seasoning gets there unless you actually take that next step. So that's what we want. We want well-seasoned chicken, and that's going to help us to get a beautiful product. So just applying it here, making sure I'm shaping up the chicken and getting ready for the next important step. And like I mentioned, this is a dry brine that sits overnight. So obviously we're not going to leave this out on the counter. So I put it into a hotel pan with paper towels on the bottom to continue to collect any moisture that might be inside the chicken overnight. And now that beautiful chicken, seasoned and formed well, is going into the refrigerator for a nice long 12-hour plus nap. So I'll see you tomorrow. So now it's the next day. This skin has dried out beautifully. Very little moisture at all. It's well seasoned. And so now we have one more step before it goes on the cooker. The skin is in fact dry, but I like to spray with a little bit of vegetable oil or any other cooking spray that you may have. That adds moisture to the skin, but it's going to do it in such a way it helps the fat to render. It won't make it tough or hard to bite through. This is the equivalent of spritzing like you would on pork shoulder or ribs, but this is an extra step to make sure that that fat basically fries underneath the skin. You'll notice too, I'm applying now a very light layer of barbecue rub. Going light because I'm going to be cooking quite hot, and so I don't want it to burn, and I don't mind a little bit of barbecue rub there, but I'm going with a very light coat of that as we want that barbecue flavor. And again, if you add too much sugar, sugary rubs, you risk burning. And part of my technique is making sure that I cook hot enough to render the fat. So are you planning to cook hot and fast today like I am with these chicken thighs right here? Well, here's something to consider, especially when using a pellet grill. You know, people often say, oh, my pellet grill doesn't produce enough smoke, but there's a way to get around that. So I have a YS640. It's a good amount of smoke that comes out of here, but I also have something that's going to help. I'm going to have right here this tube. It's a smoke tube. It's got full of pellets. These are a variety. I have fruit flavored, fruit smoke pellets in here, but you can also put wood chips in here. And in addition to that, I've got a torch. You like playing with fire? I do too sometimes. Simple as that. Light this, and you're going to have great smoke flavor even on a pellet grill. Now, if you're interested in learning tips like this, I have the ultimate barbecue cheat sheet. Check out my website and you can download it for free. Let's get to smoking. Now for the fifth step, to get that bite through chicken skin that we all want, I'm going to start hot and get hotter. So again, I'm using my YS640 Yoder pellet smoker, and I'm going to prime this to about 300 degrees. So I'm starting pretty hot, but of course I'll get some smoke flavor because of that smoke tube that I put in there. So that'll help mitigate any issues there. But I'm starting at 300, then I'm going to boost this to about 350, possibly even 375. Starting relatively low will make sure the chicken keeps its juice, but then finishing high means it'll burn the fat. Here's a tip for you. If you're cooking hot and fast, especially on a pellet grill, these grates, as you see here, are going to get really, really hot, which makes sense, right? But with chicken, as you can see, I'm cooking chicken thighs, they oftentimes stick to the grates. So here's just something really simple. Most of us know how to do this in our kitchens with skillets, but you can do the exact same. Bring some cooking spray, vegetable oil, butter oil, whatever you have, and lightly just spray the grates. And your chicken, no matter how hot this is, it's going to seal the grates. The chicken will be able to be flipped, pulled off, and it won't stick, and you'll get all the meat you want. Now we've got this screaming hot Yoder smoker now. It's up at 300 degrees. I'm going to get the chicken on. Again, I want to make sure that I tuck the skin underneath. That actually helps it stay taut so that it doesn't shrink back. And so we can have good bite through skin that won't shrink and shrivel on top of the meat. And that's very important, not only aesthetically, but also for mouthfeel so that it tastes good. Let's get it cooking. Now, another step in getting bite through chicken skin, which I feel is important, I've started my Yoder out at about 300 degrees. It's open right now, so it's 257, but it'll ramp up to 300 degrees. I like starting hot. And one thing I do, of course, as you see with the smoke tube's going to give you more of the smoke you need since you're starting this hot. But after about 30 minutes or so, I'm going to ramp this temperature up to about 350 degrees, maybe even 375. And so that's going to further render that fat underneath the skin. And we're going to let it coast at that temperature. At that point, it will have taken on all the smoke we want it to take on, but we're now just trying to get the skin just right. So let's let this chicken cook. As you can see here, the chicken's starting to take on a little bit of color, a little bit of heat, and that's what we want. But I've got another trick for you in rendering out that fat that's under the skin, and this will happen probably in about 20 or 30 minutes. Now, if you remember, I said to boost the temp after about maybe a half hour or so, boost it to about 350 or so. But here's a trick you can use on your pellet grills, and I want to show it to you. So if I want, what I can do is I can crank this pellet grill up to maybe even like 375, but by not raising the temperature. And you're thinking, well, how does that help at all? This is what you do. Again, raise the lid. What does a pellet grill think, at least the computer in the pellet grill think, when you raise the lid? It's cooling down. It's no longer 300 or 350 degrees, so it's pouring more pellets into the fire pot to increase the temperature. If you leave your pit open for about 30 to 45 seconds, what's going to happen is it's going to overshoot the actual temperature. And then, after about 30 or 40 seconds, what do? Shut the lid. All that heat comes rushing back in quickly. It renders the fat very quickly. And it's better than just ramping it up. And I would suggest doing this at the end of the cook, by the way. It's better than just ramping it up because it might take 10, 15 minutes for the temperature to gradually raise. But when you get it that blast of heat, it helps to render the fat underneath the skin. So something to keep in mind when cooking on pellet cookers. So let's let it keep rolling. Another tip that I'd like to mention is don't be afraid to take your chicken thighs well over 165. In fact, I would recommend you cook chicken thighs at least 180, even 200 degrees isn't bad because of the fat content in these thighs. Notice that, the internal temperature at 195. But that's the only way you're going to be able to render that fat under the skin and to be able to bite through it. So don't be afraid of overcooking. You can take it right on up to 200 degrees if you want to. And notice that I'm checking the temperature in the side of the thigh. When you do that, you lose less juice. Remember that. Don't poke it in the top, go in the side of the chicken thigh, and you'll keep all of that delicious juice. Now, step number 8 doesn't really have anything to do with being able to bite through chicken skin, but it's important nonetheless. A lot of people put barbecue sauce and glaze on their chicken. As you can see, I'm doing that right now. I've made up a pineapple glaze that actually is really good. But I've warmed up the glaze, and notice how that helps. You don't see streaks. I also tend to not use a brush as much because brushes give you streaks. But when you warm up the sauce, it pours right over the top. And then as the sauce sets in the high heat, it will form a very nice layer of glaze. Without the streaks, it looks really nice on a plate. Uh, and that's the way to do it. Please do not put cold sauce or cold glaze on any protein that you're cooking. And what you see me doing here is an extra step I like to do. I'll take finely ground barbecue rub and I'll put it over the top of that final glaze. And then once, of course, the heat hits it, that glaze and that very fine powder that I'm putting on there, it will congeal, it will set into a very nice glaze with that flavor pop that you want as soon as somebody bites into that delicious chicken. This chicken is going to be off the chain, let me tell you. Look how the glaze is setting. The rub will melt right into that glaze and give you the perfect chicken thigh. And there you have it, my 8 steps to the perfect bite through chicken that will knock your socks off. This chicken is delicious. So much juice, the glaze is perfect, great rub with the SPG totally complementing the meat. So now, really, there's nothing left but just to taste it. Will this skin pull away, or will I be able to bite through it and enjoy chicken with my family? And now the moment of truth. Would you look at that chicken thigh? Beautifully glazed. That rub has set as well inside of the glaze. Now let's see what we got. My fingers are crossed. Ladies and gentlemen, this chicken was off the chain. And would you look at this bite mark right through the skin? It rendered the fat perfectly. Well, I hope you enjoyed these 8 steps to perfect bite through chicken thighs on a pellet cooker. And when you get a chance, grab my free ultimate barbecue grilling cheat sheet, and the link is in the bio. And until next time, have a good one.